You know what I love about Melbourne mornings? The smell of lattes mixed with the sound of trams. And right now, the buzz of Bitcoin breaking higher again. G'day legends, it's Sash here from CRYPTOLOGIC. While half the city is still queuing for their morning brew, Bitcoin has just climbed past 104,000 AUD, 74,000 USD. And today, the big story isn't just the price. It's what's happening right here in Australia and what's the big players overseas what they're doing. Let's dive in. First up, the local hook that every Aussie holder needs to hear. Yesterday, an Australian Senate committee handed down its report strongly backing the government's proposed digital asset regulatory framework. They want to bring crypto exchanges and custody providers under proper financial services laws. Think licensing, consumer protections, and clearer rules for how platforms operate here. This isn't some half-baked idea. The committee called it a necessary step to modernize oversight in a market that's growing fast but still feels a bit Wild West in places. On one hand, clearer rules could finally unlock bigger institutional money and give everyday Aussies more confidence. On the other hand, we've seen warnings that if we drag our feet, Australia could miss out on a potential 24 billion annual economic boost from tokenized assets and digital finance. Melbourne, Sydney, Brisbane, wherever you are watching from, this matters. Our super funds and banks have been quietly positioning themselves. The groundwork is being laid for more mainstream adoption. This segment is brought to you by cryptologic.com.au, your go-to hub for in-depth Aussie and global crypto news. Now, let's zoom out to the global picture because what's happening overseas is feeding straight into our local price action. Global story 1. Institutional inflows are back with a vengeance. Spot Bitcoin ETFs in the US have seen fresh waves of buying, with corporate treasuries and big funds accumulating at a rate of 2.8 times new Bitcoin supply coming from miners. Public companies and institutions now hold record amounts of BTC. We're talking billions locked away as a strategic reserve asset. Global story 2. BlackRock just launched their iShares staked Ethereum trust on Nasdaq. And we're seeing similar moves across altcoins with protocol upgrades and new ETF fillings. Plus, the SEC and CFTC signed a memorandum to coordinate on crypto oversight, a rare sign of regulators getting on the same page. All of this is happening while exchange supply of Bitcoin keeps dropping. Less BTC available on exchanges usually means any buying pressure hits harder. That's exactly what we are seeing with Bitcoin holding firm and pushing higher, even as some macro noise swirls around. All right. Quick breather before we get too deep. Here's one for you. Why did the Bitcoin refuse to play hide and seek in Australia? Because good luck hiding when the Senate keeps shining a regulatory spotlight on every exchange. But seriously, transparency is coming, whether we like it or we don't. Now, let's get to the part I know you've been waiting for. The CryptoLogic takeaway. Here's my read as someone who's been following this space closely from Melbourne. This Senate backing is net bullish for Australia long term. Proper licensing should weed out the dodgy operators, boost consumer trust, and open the door for super funds and traditional finance to allocate more comfortably. We've already seen banks and funds laying the groundwork. Imagine what happens when the rules are actually clearer. At the same time, global institutional demand is the real engine right now. Bitcoin isn't just a speculative trade anymore. It's becoming portfolio infrastructure. Corporate holdings at record highs, ETFs pulling in serious capital, and falling exchange supply all point to a stronger floor under the price. That said, and I have to say this loud and clear, I'm not a financial advisor. This is not a financial advice. Crypto is volatile. Prices can swing hard. Always do your own research, consider your own financial situation, and never invest more than you can afford to lose. Past performance is no guarantee of future results. If you're in Australia, use this moment to get educated. Understand how the new framework might affect custody, taxes, and how you hold your Bitcoin. If you're stacking sats, think about secure self-custody alongside any exchange use. And keep an eye on tokenization. That 24 billion opportunity isn't hype if we get the settings right. So there you have it. Bitcoin pushing 104,000 AUD, 74,000 USD. Australia moving on regulation. And institutions treating BTC like the digital gold it is. What do you reckon? Is clearer regulation going to supercharge Aussie adoption or just add more paperwork? Drop your thoughts in the comments. I read every single one of them when you comment. If you're new here, hit subscribe and that bell. We drop these updates straight from Melbourne so you stay ahead of both local and global moves. Until next time, stay sharp, stack responsibly, and I'll see you in the next one. This is Sash from CRYPTOLOGIC. Catch you in the blockchain.